All right, good morning. It is 8:30 and everybody is very timely this morning. So we're going to go ahead and get started at this meeting of the Finance and Infrastructure Committee. We are going to start this morning with public comment, if there's anyone from the public who wishes to comment. Good morning.
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. First off, I'd like to thank y'all for investing in the revolving loan fund and giving IFF the 17.5 that turned into 58.3 million. I was actually invited by David DeVelder, the senior real estate developer of IFF, to their Michigan Affordable Housing Fund, and I got a lot of feedback. So I sat, and then the CEO of IFF actually sat next to me. And then I got to speaking to him about 3D printing construction, and I got to speaking to him about equitable infrastructure and financing. And I'm from Chicago, and his office is based in Chicago and Detroit. And I spoke to them about curricula. He let me know how they actually got some funding from another organization that they were able to help a school district be able to build the school in North Chicago, and I was actually born in North Chicago. I'm actually Haitian, and so, you know, Obama's actually built his presidential center on Haitian grounds. And so I just ended up speaking to him and everyone else and let him know about the process, because I think I have a very high level of economic understanding and economic justice, I'd say, but just understanding business and just understanding how systems and economics work and public impact economic engines. And so I spoke to all of these powerful individuals, and we had a good conversation. It was very fruitful. And then after this, Finance and Infrastructure Committee, I'm going to go to the Hub 07 because they got another session for another 2 hours. So I can't stop giving the feedback to this Michigan Affordable Housing Fund that you guys gave funding to, as I put in a proposal years ago and tried to develop an innovation center. And now you guys will full-fledged see that I'm the same person, kept the same energy, got the same vision. It's just I got smarter, I got brighter, I achieved a lot of things on that, and I still got the same energy. I'm still the same D. Jones that comes here and I advocate for economic justice, for us to have the best equitable use of our infrastructure and our natural resources, because that's not utilized to the best extent across the United States, especially at the federal level and the state level. We can do better. And I believe at the county we can definitely do better. And I believe that you guys do a good job. So I'm not discrediting the county, because I believe you guys do a good job, but we can still do better. There's always room for improvement. So it's just cool to be able to go to City Hall later after I go to this session for the Michigan Affordable Housing Fund. And then I'm going to go to City Hall and I'm going to speak to David, and I'm going to speak to them about economics and 3D printing construction and the curricula. And I'm just super excited to continuously go after the vision, because IFF has given us the funding to build the Stockton Community Hub, and now everybody likes the vision. And I'm going to keep standing on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment this morning for public comment? Okay, seeing no one else, we will move on to a special order of business, the financial status report for Q2 of fiscal year 2026. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Morning, Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for having me today. So I'll be brief. This kind of sounds like a broken record every time I do this, because there's always timing issues as part of these quarterly reports, but it's good to update you. The most important sentence in this is the first paragraph. Last sentence, there's nothing out of the ordinary through the end of the quarter. We expect FY26 to end the year with a surplus and remain in compliance with policy. So overall, that's a good thing. We don't really see any unusual activity. Revenues are down through the quarter, 3.5%. Expenses are up a little bit, 1.5% over last year. On page 3, it explains some of the variances. Timing of taxes is always strange in these quarters. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. It just depends on when people decide to pay their taxes. So that's one of the larger increases, down 15.9% over last year. Interest rents is down quite a bit, and that's Pete gave us a great return last year, so we had a mark-to-market adjustment downward, and we'll see where that ends up at the end of the year, depending on Fed interest rates, things like that. So there is a decrease there. That's one of the larger items. Other revenue is up, and that's primarily due to that cell tower we purchased, that vacant land with the cell tower on it. We got a one-time payment of $700,000. That was in that category there. So there's a fluctuation there. Expenditures, personnel are in line with negotiated wages and salaries, so Nothing out of the ordinary there. Health services and the corrections jail fund is up. You'll see that in this upcoming budget as well. That's in the other services and charges category. But nothing we didn't, anticipate in the budget. There's also, some additional drain commission transfers that you guys approved earlier in the year for drain projects that were ahead of schedule and had a larger at-large payment. Transfers out, again, decrease, and that's for budget. Note there, the 2014 CIP series bonds were paid off in '24, so those are down compared to last year's budget. So that's kind of a summary of the expenditures and revenues. By department, on page 4 and 5, you can see the variance explanations there. Again, sheriff is up 10.3, primarily with salaries and wages, and then the health services and the corrections fund, and then vehicle and equipment acquisition timing. Social services program and social welfare programs is a little bit higher than last year, but again, all according to budget and nothing unusual. The ME budget was up, and the number of autopsies earlier in the year have been higher, so that's not unusual, and we do expect that to be in budget by the end of the year. And then the at-large drains, we talked about his budget being higher than anticipated at the beginning of the fiscal year. Page 6 is unchanged from the last quarterly report. You can see we have 116.7 million in fund balance, 59 for cash flow, 59 million, and then 40.5 million assigned for economic stabilization. So that number does not change throughout the year. That's as of a point in time at the end of last fiscal year. Cash on hand, page 7, 49.3 million or 49 days. Slightly down from last year, but still plenty of reserves to meet our cash flow needs. On page 8, you can see the chart we like to present, and that just shows the cash flow throughout the year, and you can see why we need a substantial fund balance at our low point, June and July, before taxes start coming in. You can see we're in line with previous years there. And then lastly, on the last 2 pages is the lodging excise tax fund. We put this in here a couple of years ago. You can see the large increase in the 3% because last year was the first quarter that was presented or added. This year was 2 quarters worth. So you see the 194% increase in the 3%. Projections are that we're going to end a little bit above budget on the transient tax, so that's a good thing. You can see we paid our DeVos Place debt. That's in December payment, and then we paid Grand Rapids for their debt that we promised the 3% lodging excise tax to. We have budgeted a $1 million repayment of the general fund advance this year. We have not made that yet. We're kind of waiting to see where revenues fall, and we're still owed $8 million from that fund. So there's a quick summary. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner, are there any questions or comments this morning? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff, just want to say appreciate, all the work that you and your team put into this. I know it's a lot of detail, but you've got it well organized and easily understandable for us, so I really appreciate that. I was just curious on let's see, what page is it? The page 7, the state special projects fund balance. I'm not sure I know what that one is, and it just jumped out to me. What is that?
Special projects, I think, I know includes several different funds. I don't know if anyone has a list of them with us. We can get that to you, but there's a lot of different funds. Any kind of special revenue funds tend to get put into there, so state grants, some federal grants, all those types of things. So it's a hodgepodge of different information, but we can get you the detail on that.
So the state one's different from the special projects. It's just something that's very specific to funding sources from Michigan, is that?
Yeah, I'm going to have to check. I
Okay.
don't have a straight answer for you on that today,
No
sorry.
problem. Thanks.
Yep, we'll get that to you.
Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeff, I concur with Commissioner Coleman. Great to have you here, as always. The bond reserve amphitheater soccer stadium line item, can you remind me, that's the pre-fund for the bond payments so that there is a balance in that, and that's decreasing over the course of time as intended? We're only pre-funding that for a couple of years, is that right?
I'm sorry, which
The
which line?
bond reserve amphitheater soccer stadium. So not the debt service, but the bond reserve.
Oh, so that is the CAA, if you remember, advanced the bond debt reserve and debt service fund to the city of Grand Rapids through us. So they send us
That's
the
right,
money.
okay.
We send it to them, they're holding it, and then every year we have a payment schedule to pay them back.
Perfect. And is that for the entirety of the bond, or is that just for a few years?
That is, I believe it goes for the entirety of the bond,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments this morning? Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, then we will move on to item number 4 on our agenda, the consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Sparks, is there support? Supported by Commissioner Coleman. Questions or comments on the consent agenda this morning? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item 5, our action items. Item A comes to us from Community Action, approve the CAA 630 annual operations funding.
Action request. Motion. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair Womack, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Womack.
Yeah.
Is there support? Support. Supported by Vice Chair Hildebrand. Go ahead, Rob.
Must be really eager to get going this morning. Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $1,376,647 to the 2026 KCCA fund budget for the City of Grand Rapids annual operating funding and the DOE Weatherization Assistance Program contingent on the execution of a grant agreement. Summary, in accordance with the Municipal Partnership Agreement dated October 1, 2017, KCCA will receive its annual allocation of City of Grand Rapids CGRS funds totaling $130,000. This marks the 41st year of the partnership, with KCCA using the funds for admin and support expenses. KCCA has received notification from MDHHS regarding its annual allocation under the DOE Weatherization Assistance Program. For the program year beginning July 1, 2026, KCCA will receive $1,246,647. This represents the 53rd consecutive year of participation in the Weatherization Assistance Program. KCAA expects to complete 72 units and dwellings with this weatherization funding. The allocation of $1,246,647 will fund admin support, technical training, labor and materials, health and safety measures installed in the customer's dwellings. The grant period is July 1 of this year to June 30 of next year. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve as to content and form.
We already have a motion and support, so are there questions or comments on this item this morning? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered about the allocation from the City of Grand Rapids. It says it's for administration and support expenses. I wondered how those dollars are used to support administrative expenses in relation to all of the other dollars that are within the KCCA budget. Is it specific for the services that are provided in the City of Grand Rapids, like specific people that are assigned, or how are those dollars used administratively? And then additionally, I had a question about the Weatherization Assistance Program. Just wanted to know if the 72 units, dwellings that will be supported with this funding, if that is comparable to prior years in terms of the amount of funding is received and the number of units it supports, or is it more, is it less units that are supported with those dollars?
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me try, good morning, everyone. Let me try and answer the weatherization one first. At the top of mind is, so we had our Department of Energy funding, which we call our DOE. We didn't have it for last year. We had more of the Build Infrastructure grant funding to do those units. We recently got that grant back, and that is an increase in funding and an increase in units. We normally would hit about 48 to 50 units with that funding. Now we're going to be hitting about 72 units. But we're going to be combining that with what's called our light heat funding and our current Build Infrastructure grant. So we're hoping to do closer to about 100+ units with everything combined. The CGRS, the City of Grand Rapids funding, it's essentially used as gap funding for various programs. We have a water assistance program through the city specifically, and when we braid those dollars with those programming, and those are eligible for City of Grand Rapids or anyone's connected to City of Grand Rapids water. That's one of the ways we use those dollars. And anytime we do any projects in relation to the city, I usually will charge my time there if I have meetings with city members, and that's kind of how we use that. So it's kind of a gap funding. We don't usually use it right at the beginning. We kind of like use it sporadically throughout the whole year.
Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gustavo, a quick question on the weatherization grant. Is that a formula-based grant in terms of the amount that we're actually getting for the weatherization readiness portion of that? It looks to me like there's a fairly good correlation between those two, but.
It is a formula grant. The Bureau of Community Action, basically they will apply on our behalf, they get the funding on our behalf, and then they allocate it among the 20-plus odd community action agencies across the state.
And so that 72 number, that's the minimum unit production, is that something you're indicating is something we have the capacity to do? Is that something they're telling you to do in terms of what they're looking at doing from their end?
Yes, in both.
Okay, great, thank you.
Commissioner Womack.
Since I'm on the KCAA board, a lot of what you're saying, I've had the privilege of sitting at the table, getting a chance to hear about it over the years. So just want to thank you on the work you and your staff do with the weatherization. And on behalf of my community, I'm certainly, my constituents, we want to thank you too, because they really benefit for the services as all the residents who need that service in Kent County do. So thank you once again for your work.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your leadership as well.
Any other questions or comments on this item this morning? Thank you for answering the questions. Seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item B from purchasing, fiscal policy centralized purchasing exception. Al?
Yes, thank you. Action requested, recommend to the Finance and Infrastructure Committee to grant exception to the county's purchasing policy to allow the purchasing manager discretion to exempt bid policy to purchase goods and services per centralized purchasing exception 7.8.6. Summary. The county's fiscal policy allows the Finance and Infrastructure Committee to exempt bid policy to purchase goods and services. The exception states, whenever there exists emergency or extraordinary circumstances that hinders, delays, or prevents the regular application of the centralized purchasing policy operational guidelines, and such hindrance, delay, or prevention negatively affects county operations, the purchasing manager may award a contract without bids or after regular business hours. A compactor at South Kent landfill was destroyed by fire, resulting in the immediate loss of critical operational equipment. Due to specialized nature of the compactor, extended manufacturing and delivery lead times, and limited availability from qualified vendors, procurement through a single source purchase was necessary to minimize operational downtime and prevent negative impacts on county services. The purchase will be covered by insurance. Purchases made under this exception shall be limited to goods and services directly related to the emergency or extraordinary circumstances and determined by the purchasing manager to be in the best interests of the county.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Pakla, supported by Commissioner McLeod. Any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a example of our good governance here in King County, that we have good purchasing policies in place and also realistic ways to handle emergency situations. So I think this is great. I guess my questions are, one, I'm just super curious, like what led to the fire and what happened there. And then I'm also curious on the insurance side. Is the insurance side of this now our insurance authority, or is it still a third-party policy?
It's not the insurance authority yet. We expect January 1 we'll be flipping that switch.
Good morning. Can you hear me? As far as what happened, so it was a fluke. We operated the equipment Saturday afternoon. It ran great. We shut it down at 3 o'clock, went through our normal checks. We disconnect all the battery switches to make sure there's no issues. Everyone left the site. Sunday around 10 a.m., we got a call from somebody who was passing by on 131 and actually saw the fire. So one of our full-time staff is a volunteer firefighter as well. He was dispatched to the site, notified the site supervisor, and by the time they got there, it was fully engulfed, and it's totally gone. So 135,000-pound piece of equipment's just sitting there as scrap metal, essentially. And the insurance companies have been out, they've done their inspection. We don't have the full report yet, but we don't know what caused it, unfortunately, and it's one of those that it couldn't have been a worst-case scenario. It was a perfect storm. We operated fine on Saturday, shut it down. Sunday morning, it was fully engulfed. So why it took that 12-hour delay for it to catch, we don't really know. I mean, just kind of a really bad luck. That's crazy. Thank you. Yep.
Any other questions? Commissioner Pakla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to give kudos to the DPW staff for the quick turnaround and making sure that we had the opportunity to get this on a 3-week lead time instead of waiting over a year for the equipment. So, yeah, great work.
Any additional questions or comments from commissioners on this item? Okay, thank you. Seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item C from the Treasurer's Office, BSNA Software Upgrade Capital Improvement Program.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the establishment of the BSNA Software Upgrade Capital Improvement Program, CIP, and to appropriate and transfer $365,900 from the Strategic Capital CIP project and the delinquent of $225,550 and the delinquent tax fund amount of $140,350 to the BSNA Software Upgrade CIP in the FY26 CIP fund budget. Summary: the County Treasurer and the Bureau of Equalization utilize BSNA to settle and administer all delinquent taxes turned over to Kent County in accordance with Michigan property tax statutes, to manage all valuation and assessment data in the county, and to prepare the annual apportionment and equalization reports. The county will benefit from the upgrade that comes from the next generation SaaS BSNA cloud product. BSNA will be assuming all future hosting costs and responsibilities, reducing IT costs and requirements. BSNA will be assuming numerous security responsibilities, 24/7 safe and secure browser access, enhanced file transfer capabilities, central file and unlimited data storage with automatic updates and no downtime. The upgrade request is being submitted prior to the FY 2028 CIP cycle due to the lengthy queue time already pending for the upgrade. Executing a contract and funding the initial implementation fee in 2026 should facilitate a 2027-2028 implementation. Approval of this request will authorize the transfer of funds necessary to cover project implementation and training, post-go-live assistance, and the first year of the subscription fee. Future annual subscription fees will be requested in the general fund and delinquent tax fund operating budgets. Per the county CIP policy, funding for new CIP projects requested between the annual CIP budget process needs to be approved by a 2/3 majority of the Board of Commissioners.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod, supported by Vice Chair Hildebrand. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious how the annual subscription that we're committing to here, which I think if I read it right was about $300,000, how does that compare to what our current sort of software annual subscription costs are? Just trying to get a sense of, you know, as we chatted about at the last board meeting, sometimes these cloud subscriptions are the gift that keeps on giving from a budget perspective.
Yeah, that's Pete McGregor, Kent County Treasurer. It's definitely going to be more than what we're paying now, but we are paying, what, 200 about now? Between 200,000 and 300,000 now for that. So it's going to be a bit more, but, you know, hopefully in the big picture, how this relieves our IT budget and our IT needs, it'll balance out. Exactly, I can't tell quite yet, but you're right, it'll keep giving. But that, all our systems are going to be like that. We're dependent on these systems to function.
Yeah, and really that was the question I was getting at, was how does it balance compared to the IT costs? And, you know, if you're comfortable with it, then that's great that we've had that conversation.
Being comfortable with it is an odd thing to say. It's the
Comfort with the
BSNA
discomfort.
system it's a monopoly.
Yeah.
And we depend on that, you know, blessed by the state of Michigan, but we do, you know, our delinquent taxes, our cash receipting, our tax system, our PRE audit. We do it, the assessing through the equalization, so it pretty much does every process that we need in all our operations.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Thank you. Okay, see no additional discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to our final action item from the prosecutor's office. Add 6 FTE assistant prosecuting attorney positions for a Michigan Department of Treasury local prosecutor support grant.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the addition of 6.0 FTE assistant prosecuting attorney positions and to accept and appropriate $4,820,980 from the state of Michigan to the FY 2026 Special Projects Fund budget for the Local Prosecutor Support Grant Program, contingent upon the receipt and execution of a grant agreement, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement and approve extensions, amendments, and increases of the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. The State of Michigan Public Act 22 of 2025 created the Local Prosecutor Support Grant Program, providing funding to 15 county prosecutors' offices in Michigan with the highest violent crime rates. The Kent County Prosecutor's Office was allocated $2,359,353 for FY24 and $2,461,627 for FY26, for a total of $4,820,980. The FY25 allocation grant period is from October 1 of 24 to September 30 of 29, and the FY26 allocation grant period is from October 1, 25 to September 30, 2030. The funding is intended to be exclusively used for expenses that reduce attorney caseload. As part of the grant, the Kent County Prosecutor's Office has requested funding to create 6 new assistant prosecuting attorney positions, which will reduce the annual average caseload per APA by 17%. The Michigan Department of Treasury has responded in writing to the funding request, indicating approval of the APA positions. The grant agreement is being prepared, and upon receipt, Corporate Counsel will review the agreement as to form. Anticipating the grant award and understanding the competitive environment for candidates, the prosecutor's office has posted the positions and has already identified qualified applicants who would start in July of 26. The cost of those positions will be reimbursed through the Local Prosecutor Support Grant Program. If the funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Halsted, supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Teal. So Al, for the average person, that's a lot of money. For governmental units, it's just a line on an item on a line. So I always love it when the state recognizes that there's a problem of high crime. And then, so they set up this grant program that's good for a couple years. And if the funding isn't renewed, then the positions are eliminated. What is the future expectations of this fund? And where is the state finding the money to fund these programs for exclusively large counties, then making the assumption that small counties have no crime at all?
Okay, I'll start, and then the prosecutor can clean it up a little bit maybe. But to me, I think the purpose for this, this is a result of lobbying by the county and the Prosecutors Association to really help create an imbalance between the Public Defender's Office and the Prosecutor's Office. Obviously, the state funded a whole lot of expenses for public defenders' offices, and that changed a little bit of the nature of what's happening in the courtroom as far as caseload balances and support and resources. And so the state did respond after sustained lobbying finally in establishing some funding to help improve that imbalance. Where the state gets the money, I have no idea. I would, they have multiple sources of revenue, and the expectation we have and the conversations we have is that this would be permanent, but what's permanent in life, right? So I mean, it's something we'd have to keep fighting for over time, like we do so many other things that support our budget. With that,
Yeah, I could add to that, because this is in direct response to the MIDC, because, the MIDC, the Defender's Office, has been getting funding for, probably 10 years now at least, and we've always said, we were looking for equality in all this, and right now it's not equal, because they're getting about 360 million, we're getting 17, but it isn't just for the big counties, because if you look at the 15, there's actually some small counties, because they're doing it per capita, and so that's caused, I think there's a, Charlevoix County, or there's a small county that you wouldn't expect for a high violent crime rate is actually getting some of this funding. So it isn't just the big counties that are getting it. It is a kind of a mix in the small counties. I think Oakland is not getting it actually out of this round. So it just depends, and obviously we hope to continue that, and that's one of the things, the legislative priorities of PAM is to continue this funding and then quite frankly expand it so all 83 counties can get it, because it does cause some dissension within our ranks that, you're one of the haves that get the money, and then there's a bunch of have-nots, especially when 83 counties and only 15 are getting them, that is causing an issue.
Thank you. I've long advocated that counties would probably give up revenue sharing if the state of Michigan would finally take the courts back and they fund them 100%.
yeah, what do I say?
Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, there's a line I highlighted, the Michigan Department of Treasury has responded in writing to the funding request indicating approval of the APA positions. I know when we were in Lansing a couple of weeks ago, we had some conversations with our legislators about the status of the dollars, just trying to figure out, have things changed since a couple of weeks ago? Or are we still sort of waiting for the dollars to be dispersed, even though we have the approval effectively?
Because as it had, I think when you guys were going out there, I think we were talking with Alan, I had not got the application, and we just got the application released in, early April, I think, finally to get the money. And so I submitted that application probably the first week of May, right about the time you guys were going.
Okay.
And so they've initial response back, they had some questions, because it's not just the positions.
Sure.
There's some other, I'm looking at technology and stuff like that. So they said the initial response back, hey, your positions are good, we have some questions on these issues. So that's the response back we got.
But in terms of, getting out ahead of our skis on this, or over our skis, right? We're not anticipating that we're going to, I understand the need to push forward and try to be proactive at these positions, right? Lots of competition for the individuals, but we're not feeling like there's a chance that we're going to extend an offer and then have to immediately retract.
I don't think so. I think, at this point in time, I'm not planning officially getting out an offer,
Yeah.
but, just tentatively, we're working on, getting these people lined up at least. And with everybody, the understanding, I've been very clear, hey, this is a grant position, we're still working.
Sure.
So, and at least a few of the people, they're, good people, but they need to take the bar exam.
Yeah.
And so they're wishing to even start in August, so I think that gives us a little bit more leeway too.
Okay, great, thank you.
Vice Chair Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Prosecutor. Thanks for being here. So it sounds like there's a lot of interest in these positions. Do you have a lot of candidates applying? You expect people to be on board in July, or you mentioned August?
I was very surprised. I mean, that's one of the things I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. For us, recently, we got like almost 12 applicants, which is huge comparison. And they're all applicants. They're good. Most of them have experience. We're getting them from other smaller counties, and we've got other PAM interns. They have an internship program, so they've all got experience in prosecution, which is tremendously beneficial and kind of surprising, because I thought it may be a long process, but right now we're like, there's people we like, and we'd like to jump on them.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing
Thank you.
none? Thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item 6, Commissioner comments. Are there any Commissioner comments this morning? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you for joining us this morning.